Hello and welcome. It's been about 2 weeks, but I'm finally uploading my Diamond 5 replays from Season 23. That would be the month of November. Season 24 is ongoing. Pretty smooth despite the banlist hit, but I might as well just go through what went on in, with previous builds I was experimenting with. This one in particular, it was just like a standard no exceed defensor build, and so we're just gonna go through all the replays. So mainly we're gonna go second versus Dragon Link, of course. Going first replays are cool and all, but the more interesting part, the interaction happens usually when I'm going second. So we're going against Dragon Link as mentioned. I opened DD Crow, I opened Kurikara, Mathmech Circular, Nibiru, and Signet Mining. So let's just play this out. So we see Lubellion start off. This doesn't give us too much info. They don't search a Saronir, so it's not branded. But Magnemute, it's a pretty good indication that it's what's called Dragon Link. So they banish their their Lubellion directly. So it doesn't seem like they have like a baby dragon or something like that. They just and they needed a normal summon immediately to get into the striker. So kind of scary, but not too scary. They're not dark locked for what it's worth. They have a boot sector launch, so we know they have 3 unknowns. Okay, so they do have a baby chaos dragon. So just to keep track, so they're gonna search Dragon Ravine with the Romulus. So they're gonna search 2 cards. So their hand size will increase 5, but they realistically only have 3 cards that we have to worry about because they're just gonna play those 2 immediately. Anyway. So banishing their Lubellion is good for us. That means they're not going to access their Branded Regain, which is a major part of their grind game. If we can't kill them, there's like no shot we're actually going to outgrind them with Branded Regain face up. So this is actually good for us. It also means, like if they somehow dump level 4 Safer, they can't add back the Lubellion for next turn. So right now, nothing too crazy. We're just seeing standard Dragon Link stuff. So there's a Collapse Serpent. There's the Dragon Ravine. Actually, they only have 2 unknowns. We know that one of them is the boot sector launch that they searched previously with the Striker Dragon. So really, they have only 2 unknowns. All right, so there's Pisty. So here, I'm actually toggled off the whole time. I don't want to give away that I have a Nibiru the Primal Being. Because if I do, he's going to play very, very conservatively. Like, he can immediately go into Seals with these 2, and then summon an Extender, and then just keep going. Make Borland while Seals is faced up. Because if you tribute Seals, it's going to summon Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon from deck and then revive anything. So right now, we don't want to let them know we have Nibiru. We're toggled off, and we're going to wait until they Dark Lock themselves. So this is probably going to... It's not going to work against every single Dragon Link player, but most Dragon Link players are not conscious of Nibiru. But they have no reason to. Most people think Nibiru is bad right now, which is fine. Alright, so they're going to go to Dragon Ravine and search Absorrider with Rocket Tracer. And then they reveal one of their 2 unknowns. I don't know if... So we know they have a Tracer in hand. We know they have a Boot Sector launch in hand. And we just know 1 unknown. So the other unknown was Quick Launch. So I'm not sure why they won't go this route. But I think they're just completely disrespecting Nibiru. They don't even care about it in the metagame. Which is fine. Because it's like not a... It's not a present threat. It's only present... You only have it in mind under Max D. And even then, people only commit to 1 Nibiru. Well, I couldn't... 3. So I'm making a decision to take advantage of people who don't respect Nibiru, which is the case. When people say Nibiru is bad in the format, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because when people think it's bad in the format, Nibiru becomes better. Because they're not going to play around it. So you can catch these Dragon Link players off guard with just this So I made a meta call to play 3 Nibiru for these moments because people are just not respecting it. So they're not going to play around it. Of course, this fails when people have direct access to stuff like Appaloosa or Barone in like 2 summons or something like that. Or, they can... Or like Gigantic Spright, if they make Gigantic Spright early. Then yeah, your Nibiru is useless. So that's a valid case against people disrespecting Nibiru. But in this case, he's not setting up any of that. So anyway, let's just keep going. So there's the Striker Dragon. We may see Delingirus with this build. So now he finally summons with Boot Sector launch, and he's going greedy. So this is the perfect time to strike. I'm not sure. I was expecting the rocket level 4, but he already summoned it with quick launch. So I'm not sure what the mistake is, but we're gonna punish him for this. So we're gonna get this huge fat dub. And he's Dark Lock, so there's no way he can end on seals if he can create a board. Of course, they have Maxi, so they're gonna get 2 draws with Nibiru. The way Nibiru is worded, it special summons a token and itself sequentially due to the conjunction then. So that's 1 draw for each sequential summon. So there's Nibiru, and then he gets the Druisworm, alright. And then he makes, what's it called? He makes IP. So I have reason to believe he has a Bestial in hand, because, you can still, make Unicorn and interrupt your opponent's turn. He got rid of the Nibiru, which is fine. He still does not know what I'm on. So here, a long time ago, this was decision, because a long time ago, he activated Magnemute, and Magnemute can add from the graveyard. So I did not want him to add back the Druisworm at all. So that would have been a problem, because, Druisworm can summon itself, interrupt my play, especially if I have Lone Circular. You can it's one of the rare moments where Druisworm Banish Sigma is impactful, because on top of Druisworm, he has IP Masquerena. He can make Unicorn to shuffle another Cyber's body on the field. And as well, he can use Druisworm's effect when he uses it as link material for Unicorn, it can send another body on the field. So it's you can't disrespect the Druisworm. So that's why I held the DD Crow. There's probably a time I could have used it earlier, but I wanted to see him to play out all his cards. So I knew all his cards by the end of this game, except for this one unknown. So I'm not sure. He makes a questionable add with Magnemute. So it looks like he's gonna add that. He didn't add a Bestial. The Bestial wasn't too big a deal. I think we could have played through what's called we top deck Maxi, so we had a good chance of playing through a Bestial and a Unicorn. But in this case, it doesn't seem like he has it. So we're just gonna speed through this. This is going to go. We've seen this combo before. Alrighty. So diameter, yeah. So because of a decision earlier, not that I don't think mattered in the long run. We're just gonna OTK. The IP Masquerena is not threatening us. So Link Decoder, Star of the Show, Transcode Talker. Link Decoder is disgusting. You can just make terahertz with like 2 bodies. It's ridiculous. We're gonna revive with Transcode, and it looks like we're just gonna go into terahertz. Here, I think the one upside to going into terahertz here is if he actually did have a Bestial, if he chose to hold it for battle phase to block block some damage. Well, in battle phase, it cannot. You can't activate a Bestial. Crystal Heart grants terahertz 2 attacks if you convert it to an Earth using terahertz effects. So you just send an Earth from the extra deck or from the main deck, and you'll be granted 600 attack, 2 attacks on unconditional 2 attacks, and piercing. So this is pretty kind of. So yeah, like I was saying, this stops Bestial. He has to activate it in main phase, and he has to summon it in attack or defense. It didn't matter as long as the sum total of defense and attack, due to the piercing, is 4,000. I still have game. So we just keep going to battle, and then we just attack twice. So I like this OTK. This covers a lot of cases where you can win. On top of access code plus update jammer, and also people don't expect it too much. It's still a little fragile. You can stop it, but if you usually go for this if you exhausted your opponent's resource, or the opponent has like a limited board. So that's all for this replay. There's going to be a few more, so we'll go on to the next one. Alrighty, so this next replay we open Kurikara, Maxi, Firewall Guardian, Defensor, and Small World. So we're going second versus Kashtira. A little upsetting. We're opening, someone invited Guardian to the club with Defensor, but we don't like to see that. But we open Small World, so realistically, these two paired together doesn't matter too much. Guardian is still 2 bodies, so we'll just keep going. We'll just play this out. So they activate Shifter. Unfortunately for us, that means we can't play on our next turn. So then they just go into the Unicorn combo. So this is, we've seen this before. If you're familiar with Kashtira, this is just a 1-card combo. They love going for Fenrir, then adding what's called Rise Heart, then special summoning Rise Heart after making Shangri-Ira. You know, Rise Heart's the only way to... I'll speed it up a bit. Rise Heart's the only way to trigger Shangri-Ira so they can cheat out a Rise Heart. But, you know, I'm not too impressed by it. Like, it plays into a lot of things. Yeah, one material Rise Heart's not that scary. But, you know, I can't really... Honestly, even the Rise Heart is pretty redundant versus Wild Shifter's based up. Because you already have the Floodgate. Why? And this thing is just sitting there. It's not like it's... You know, your board's massively improved. But anyway, you know, while I'm malding, there's not much I can do. So we draw into a DD Crow. Kurikara could cook, right? Like, but it might not matter because of Shifter. So this takes a turn for the, like, confusing, because while he banished, so he goes straight for Tier Limits Kashtira and activates the effect. You know, normally people will go for Fenrir and then, what's called, yeah, they would go for Fenrir or Unicorn or just some other interruption, but he plays into my Kurikara unnecessarily. Probably he wanted to gain information on what deck he's facing. So he banishes my only copies of these two extenders, addition and subtraction, so that's good for him. But you know, now our strategy now pivots to making a 6,000 attack Kurikara by attributing all three of these, and then just putting out 2,000 damage. So I just need a special summon anything with 1,000 attack, and then just normal summon Defensor, and that's 8,000. In case you're wondering, I didn't use Max D earlier when he activated Shifter, and I think there is a case for using Max D. There's only like one deck that punishes you for playing Max D, and that's Fluandries. Exo Sister special summons, what's called Kashtira special summons. There's a couple more, even Vanquish Soul does. But in this case, I wasn't thinking, and it did work out for me. But I think in the future, I would activate Max D in response to the Shifter. Anyway, there's a Kurikara at 6,000 in all its glory. And then here, luckily, we have a Sigma still in deck. So we're just going to special summon it and then normal summon Defensor. This is really cut and dry. Realistically, I should not have been winning this game. I was lucky enough to see the line, but it was like 1 in a million kind of duels. And there's a moral to this. I feel like Kurikara is a great card. This situation is not evident enough for me to convince me it's a great card, because the only reason why I won with Kurikara was because my opponent pretty much handed me the win. They didn't need to make Tier Limits Kashtira. If they sat out in Fenrir, they could have just Fenrir controlled me, and then the duel would have likely been over. I don't know if I could have afforded to give them another turn. But yeah, it's just something you don't want to fall into. Like when testing things, you don't want to fall into your confirmation bias and be like, oh, this card produced a good outcome, therefore it's a good inclusion. This was a good outcome, but I'm going to apply a little bit more scrutiny to this duel and be like, Kurikara, you cooked, but I don't know if you made the team just based on that. I'm going to need more evidence. But yeah, that's all I have. It's just a quick little blurb about, testing text and stuff like that. Don't let all the good things... I think I got lucky this duel. Alrighty, now for the next replay. Alrighty, for this replay, we're going first versus Swordsoul. So they're not going to have an easy time. They actually play board breakers and, going second cards. Vishuda is a threat. But let's just get into it. We open one Addition, one Circular, one Gachiri, one Nibiru, and then we open Super Factorial. So if there's a Droll in here, we're in a good spot. So Circular, I think there's interruptions in this. If this is uninterrupted, I'm going to speed it up. So we're going to search Equation. All right, so he should have the Fear of God in him. If I search Equation, that means I have Super Factorial. So yeah, Alimbertion. I believe this is uninterrupted. I'll pause it. There's Diameter. Yeah, if we get to this point and there's no interruptions, I mean, there's Nibiru, but I would have known by then. By the time you normal summon Diameter, you should know. It should blink unless they know how to toggle. There's Link Decoder. We're going to activate Gachiri Ad Ignister. So here I sequence things a little bit weird. I think, I'm going to go for the Singularity combo with one Extender with the Gachiri. So ideally, I want to so we're gonna So we use all of the links to make Singularity, and then we're gonna use Alimbertion to tribute Gachiri, and then Gachiri can make Singularity unaffected. But personally, I think I want to make Terahertz unaffected. It was just like this could have been avoidable if I actually summoned Alimbertion in this column right here where Gachiri. It basically if Gachiri and Alimbertion switch places, I could use Alimbertion to tribute itself, and then that would trigger Singularity. But since I have to tribute the Gachiri, I have to trigger Gachiri early. There's the trick where you know the reason why you have to send it to the grave is to trigger Singularity, which will revive any Cyberse monster in your graveyard. Not in defense position either. So that includes links. One quirk about Splash Mage, it's special summons in defense, so that's why I cannot revive any links, because since links cannot be in attack position. I'm sorry, in defense position. So there's our Terahertz. Very cool. We're gonna send a save worm. We have 3 names. We have Super Factorial. We have Hand Trap, probably one of the strongest hand traps in the game. Alrighty, let's see the Swordsoul. How do they play this out? Okay, they kaiju immediately. So the reason why I wanted to make Terahertz unaffected is if you know making Singularity will always be kaiju, no matter what. Because if you kaiju Spiral Dragon Dark Fluid Terahertz, then Singularity will just revive it again. So it doesn't matter. So you will always kaiju. So like I'm not making the most out of the unaffectedness. Gachiri's second effect. In addition, he has Vishuda, so I wouldn't even have to care about Vishuda if my Terahertz was unaffected. So either way, we're going to Monk, so we have to activate the Super Factorial a bit earlier. In fact, fun fact, Super Factorial counts as 4 summons. You summon 4 monsters with this, and if I ever revived with Singularity, not in this case, I got Kaiju. That's 5 summons, so if my opponent has a Nibiru, they can Nibiru in response. So it's kind of funny. So we're just gonna get rid of his hand, so that's one of his starters. So this is nice, but so he imperms. So I think he's just worried about a negate here, but we didn't use Diameter on the imperm. We're gonna let him commit. I don't want him to use like a Talents right now, and then we're gonna commit. He hasn't made a play yet, so now we're gonna commit to a play, and then we're gonna finally what's called this save. Well, actually, we don't even save. We just send Aggregator. So one cool trick, whenever there's a spell or effect that special summons another monster, let's say a purely spell or something like that, or even this Swordsoul, you would chain Terahertz to send Aggregator in response to this. And because the way trigger effects work in this game, your opponent's trigger effects will go chain link 1, and then Aggregator will go chain link 2, and then you just negate the triggered effect on your opponent's side. It does not work on your turn, so it's only on your opponent's turn this works. Because on your turn, your trigger effects go first because you're turn player, and then your opponents go first. So Aggregator will trigger first, and then your opponent will get their effect. It'll get negated eventually, but the way the chain link is ordered, your opponent will get theirs first, then get negated. So here he activates this. Poor guy. So yeah, he just scoops. There's not much you can do. He opened 2 board breakers, and it was not enough to stop this build. I think board breakers into Mathmech makes it really hard to play board breakers in this format. You have to save worm. If you make it a Singularity, you have like insurance against that. It's really tough. The other interesting thing about board breakers, if your opponent opens them, they're less likely. If you play board breakers over hand trap, you're less likely to interrupt your opponent, right? So you're more likely to get off your full board if your opponent has board break. So because you're just not interacting with the Mathmech deck. But anyway, yeah, that was a replay of us going first and just like stomping. But yeah, let's go to the next replay. Okay, for this replay, we're going second versus Live Twin Spright. We opened 2 DD Crow, 1 Guardian, unfortunately, 1 Addition, and 1 Defensor. So Guardian and Extender is just completely fine. We can still play. So Defensor and Guardian, while tilting to see, just make sure you have an Extender. It's not the end of the world. This is a Cyberse. So yeah, they normal summon Live Twin. They summon Red. Here would be a good time to Veiler, because they can't. If you had Veiler, it'd be a good time to Veiler because they can't protect it with Red. Because if you gigantic Spright needs to stay needs Xyz material to detach on resolution, and when you tribute it to negate Veiler or something like that, you're not dodging Veiler. You got rid of the Xyz material to detach, so Spright will resolve without effect and not summon Spright. So it's just something to keep in mind, you know. Spright can beat hand traps, but some people will missequence things. And then, as long as you recognize that, you just take advantage of it. In this case, it doesn't matter. We're going to play through Mask. So they search as Spright Smashers. This is going to be a tough board to crack, but for some reason, they're not going to set it. Okay, here I made the decision to... so since Spright Elf cannot be used as link material, and I wanted to get rid of their Live Twin engine, this seemed like the best time to DD Crow. Even though I'm going to eat a red, he's going to tribute a monster. He'll get back the Live Twin, but then he has to use both. So he got rid of his carrot, then he has to get rid of his red to continue link summoning. So there's the carrot. It's gone. It's tributed. Sorry, DD Crow. We didn't chain the DD Crow. It didn't seem like he was going to threaten very much after this. Like, yeah, he's going to Live Twin combo, but yeah, he just ends on Lila, and that's it. So we didn't DD Crow earlier because if we DD Crow this link, he could have revived Frost and then made another Lila to revive. Sorry, made another Kiss a Kill using Frost plus Lila and then revived the Lila. So we held the DD Crow. So we have Blossom. This is pretty good. If they have Max D, we don't have to worry. So this is a good time to DD Crow. I think in this case, if this went through, he would have had an interruption in the form of red to tribute one of these, and then he would have another pop since one of these would be in the grave. So we're in a good spot. There's the Maxi, so we're gonna negate that. So there we go. I'm still surprised they didn't set Spright Smashers. I'm not sure what they were thinking. But I'm guessing because of the Max, they didn't want to banish any of these. I don't know. I think they didn't expect another DD Crow or something like that. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but I think he could have had a better chance against me if I had the Smasher. So this draw does not matter. We went through the Alan Bershin line early just to play around Ash. I wanted him to spend an Ash on the Alan Bershin, but Alan Bershin will still tribute itself to make a Link Decoder to summon any Mathmech. So it's okay if they Ash there. So now that we got a circuit, we're just gonna hold it. I don't believe we gone through Sigma. So if they have a Nibiru or something, we can just go into circular, jump Sigma, and then still combo. We go into Link Decoder. Yeah, this is a pretty free eat. We established 2 bodies, and now we're gonna go into Terahertz, and we're not gonna even send multiplication here. I don't play multiplication in this specific build. We're just gonna attack, and as long as they're below 3,000 attack combined, we can just attack them both and then have game. So yeah, that was a pretty sick replay. Let's go to the next one. Okay, for this replay, we're going second again. We opened 2 circular, 1 firewall defensor, crossout designator, and red reboot. So defensor came alone, thank goodness. This should, even if you run 3 copies or 2 copies, it should only happen like 10% of the time you open Defensor for both cases. It's actually the case for 1 copy of Defensor and 1 copy of Guardian, but you have a higher chance of opening you have a higher chance of opening Guardian overall. So yeah, just some interesting factoids about the percentages. But anyway, let's just keep going. So this is our Automa. We open no interruptions basically. Designator and red reboot are still pretty strong. So when I see Automa, I have reason to believe it's either Exosister or Mathmech. So Alan Bershin, just pointing this out, Alan Bershin here, pretty risky. Our Automa's already vulnerable, but you can convert it to Almirage. But here, Imperm, Ash will end this combo. In fact, here he goes for Sigma here. You can just Nibiru and it ends their turn. So to be fair, Nibiru is not that common. I'm the only one playing 3 Nibiru during this format. So it's just interesting how you can sequence things in a way that's pretty vulnerable. Anyway, so he just keeps going into the Link Decoder. Goes into transcode. So I think he takes a little different route than what I'm used to. Goes to Link Decoder. He's gonna revive Splash Mage. Then he uses an extender here. Want to double check something. So he banishes Sigma. So he only has one name so far. So he has to use either, contribute 2 more names from his hand or use Terahertz to send them. Which isn't, Terahertz is a really good card. So that's one name. So he has 2 left. He has 2. So there we go. He has to send Diameter with Terahertz, which is good. I don't have to see this save worm on my turn. So now he's back to, comboing normally. There was little risky things here and there, but now I think he's in a good spot. I think I would have sequenced things a little bit differently, but that's kind of that's just because I've been playing the deck for a long time. If you're picking up the deck or you played it recently, not everything's gonna come naturally to you. This is a very popular board I see. Lingeribo, Heatsoul, and Terahertz. I don't really agree with this random Lingeribo. I guess it's useful because the save worm, you use one of your stands for the save worm. But like in my opinion, I don't think it just sits there, and then especially in the mirror, you just eat it up, and then you OTK. Well, anyway, enough molding. Let's just play. So he gets to draw 2, and he has Super Factorial presumably. So this is good. Crossout Designator is so strong in the mirror. You just activate it, and you call Super Factorial. I also have Red Reboot, but we'll just hold it. So there's the Super Factorial. We Red Reboot here, and then he has a Red Reboot of his own to protect himself, which is nice. Red Reboot is interesting. It's not a very common tech, but you can use it to just as he did, you protect your own Super Factorial. So that's cool. So I set the Super Factorial on Instinct. It gives him something to send, but it's not really needed. I should have set like an Imperm. So at least it would have but we're not gonna, there's not gonna be a next turn. So we just, okay, here, there's the save worm we have to worry about. So there's the save worm right now. And then we already burned through the negate. So his board is doing nothing right now. So once we have 2 bodies, it's eating time. But here we're just gonna climb a bit. Our Defensor, one of the cool things about Defensor, it's like it's a level 4. You can revive with Diameter. The other thing is you can revive with Splash Mage and still trigger its effect, so you can make a link climbing. So when he pitched the Defensor with Laplacian, it wasn't a big deal as long as we get to Super. Oh, he knows. So that Lingeribo was gonna kill him. He's at 6,000 life points. There is no way he's winning. Their name, I can read a bit of katakana. This says Makima, but I'm not sure about this kanji. You're gonna have to put that in a translator. But anyway, this was a nice duel. Mirror, it's not hopeless going second. And if your opponent isn't very conscious of what to interrupt, basically I try to hold Super Factorial as much as possible. But you also have to worry about Lingeribo, so you just got to keep that in mind. Lingeribo doesn't always beat Super Factorial because eventually you're gonna have to link with it. But yeah, and that's the replay. Next replay. Alrighty. So we're going first versus Magician Pendulum. So pretty good odds we're taking this one again. Just wanted to point out their name, I believe, is Miyama in katakana. Just flexing a bit of knowledge. So let's just jump in. Oh yeah, my hand. We have Small World, Kurikara Demon Incarnate, Ash Blossom, and Diameter. So this is strong. We're gonna prioritize Circular here, and this Diameter is going to put in work. So we got rid of the Kurikara. Going first, it's the first thing we eat. So yeah, let's just speed this up. This is the extender combo. So when you open Diameter, you can still end on Terahertz plus Singularity. You just normally you would search Diameter and then use your extender. So in this case, this is just the reverse. You get your extender with Allen Burschen instead of searching it with Diameter because you already have the Diameter. So this is nice because you also have a negate. So there's the extender. There's Super Factorial. We're just gonna speed this up. All right, so yeah, I guess the way we sequence this, banishes the Sigma. But since we searched the extender here, what's called, we still have 3 names in the graveyard, and we also have terahertz to send more if needed. So it's a little scary to banish our Sigma, but I was pretty confident. There's probably a more efficient line, but this was the best way to mimic the singularity combo that I could think of at that moment. So there's our transcode talker. We're going to revive link decoder. Yeah, let's speed up through this. So this is a link 6. We're just going to link off all these links. And so this time, I actually have Allen Burschen underneath. So you contribute Allen Burschen to trigger the singularity. And then it activates to bring back. And then we're going to summon our extender that we searched off Allen Burschen all that while ago. So my opponent not having any input, leads me to believe he might have a board breaker or something. Nothing to fear though. So end phase, we're going to see. So I do this at end phase to avoid Veiler, because Veiler is only during the main phase. If they had Veiler, they would have used it earlier. But it's just something like I want to get in the habit of doing, because you never know. So yeah, this is so I think this guy is prime what's called Allen Burschen bait. Because the 8 scales are pretty powerful. That's Purple Poison Magician and the Odd Eyes scale. So I don't want him to access those. So far we're just going to sit on our interruptions, try to get the most of our super factorial. I know he has a Pendulum summon, but we still have insurance. Even, if we wanted to prevent the Pendulum summon, we're going to have the Laplacian negate. And we're going to have Desave Worm. So the nice thing about Desave Worm negating activations, if a Pendulum scale activates its spell effect to place itself on the Pendulum scale, you can negate it, negate the activation, and it gets sent to the graveyard. So that's a nice perk. It's as opposed to Diameter, where it negates an effect, but it doesn't, it negates the effect on resolution. So it's not going to have the same outcome as sending it to the grave by negating the activation. Yeah, we got rid of Joker, their starter, so that was pretty strong. So they got their 8 scale. Surprised they didn't add back, but I guess it doesn't matter. So what was interesting, we gave them 3 scales, 3 zones for them to Pendulum summon. So here, I think they wanted to get fancy. So they're going to go straight into battle phase. They want to bait the negate. But here's a nice trick. You can activate Singularity's effect to bounce in the damage step. Primarily because you can gain 500 attack. So in the damage step, you're allowed to activate cards that negate activations, so like Desave Worm, but not Diameter. Diameter does not negate activations, only negates effects, as mentioned before. Plus you're allowed to activate effects that modify attack value. So you see, he gains 500 attack for each return card. So that's very, very interesting interaction. So he doesn't get very far. So I bounce him back, he realizes it was in the damage step, and then he just scoops it up. So that's a cool interaction with Singularity. Lets you hold it for as long as possible. And if they try to be fancy and run over the what's called Laplacians, so they don't have to deal with the negate, you can just bounce them. Alrighty, so that's it for this replay. Alrighty. So this is next replay is going first versus Mathmech. But it's a little weird build. It's a little different than your traditional Mathmech. You can see this Maxi poking. So immediately they're gonna Maxi. But we have 2 Ash to answer it. We have 1 Circular, 1 Gacheri, and then 1 Red Reboot. So not bad. We'll see something interesting. So Ash negating Maxi, that's not that interesting. That happens all the time. Activating Circular, even that is not that interesting. So we can speed through this. So what does happen here, so I won't speed through it yet, but the weird part here is I have to use my Red Reboot here. So I'll get the super factorial, but okay, the way I sequence this, perhaps I should have used this Gacheri earlier, so I wouldn't have to be like, oh shoot, Red Reboot, I gotta snap Red Reboot, because my opponent will imperm the Allen Burschen. So I do need this Allen Burschen ad, which I might Red Reboot anyway. But in this case, I was forced to. You know, I had no choice because I can't summon Gachiri. If Gachiri to special summon itself, it must negate the Cyberse monster to special summon from hand. So if my Allen version's already negated, there's no Gachiri summon. So that was not that great sequencing. So I had to use Red Reboot immediately. So this is scary. My opponent has access to any trap of their choosing, but at least our play is insulated. And then we can, so we're going to add the diameter, and we're going to use the Gachiri as a way to use our extender for singularity. Though I suppose in this case it's not advised. Perhaps singularity was the play here. I don't end up doing this. What, you know, I was worried about all these I was worried about this set. You know, I would need to, you know, at least bounce these immediately, or like pop them. But at least singularity would give me the option to bounce. So here I end up going into like an access code pass kind of deal, because so yeah, there's the link decoder. We summon transcode. So yeah, so I choose to make access code to pop this set card, and I keep the imperm here. So I think I should have just done the singularity combo and made the singularity unaffected. So this is a completely missed opportunity just because I was scared. So singularity could have just bounced these, but yeah, I just didn't want to see. Crackdown is kind of an annoying card. Diameter isn't very effective at negating it because it's just like a continuous effect. So you know, you can negate Crackdown, but then after the chain resolves, Crackdown will just steal your monster anyway. Like I said, you can negate this, like you can negate this card, but since Diameter does not destroy the card, it's not going to be sent to the grave, so the continuous effect still applies. However, if I had to save Worm or something like that, you can you know, negate the activation of this and then it'll be sent to the grave. So yeah, so I think this was a completely missed opportunity, but it's good to see these replays because, you know, unaffected singularity sounds like amazing. So, you know, this imperm won't really do anything. Plus I'll have the, you know, it'll bounce to hand, but then if he activates imperm from hand, he's not going to bounce the singularity. So here, you know, I draw one within the same chain and then I activate super factorial. So he has this imperm ready for the, so I'm going to have to use my Laplacian negate on this, what's called, on this imperm. So this trade's not that great. You know, he has 2 cards in hand. You know, it's I'm lucky that I have Ash in hand to trade with the remaining cards. So yeah, I'm not really happy with this board, but you know, perhaps Terahertz and Gachiri making Singularity unaffected would have been way better. Yeah, so we negate with Imperm because, you know, he was holding that and I wasn't even like, maybe I should have popped it earlier. But yeah, so we just discard a card. It's a Dotscaper. That's great. So we know we're in versus some Cyberse matchup. So here he's gonna get Balinks. He's gonna add the Sanctuary. So this is kind of, you know, he trades up in advantage by using it as. So he has a microcoder. So he's gonna start Signet mining here. So usually when I see this, you know, it doesn't seem like he has a normal summon to just go into Slash Mage. So this was his only option. He has to go to Signet mining and then get like an extender or something like Circular or something like that. So he was probably going for Circular here to get a lot more bodies. So this is where our Ash came in clutch. Probably wasn't necessary, but you know, had I like made a better end board than just this, probably I didn't need to do all that. So this set card, if you can believe it, it's Crackdown. So all this, yeah, so he activates it immediately. So Crackdown doesn't negate effects or anything like that. It just prevents activation of effects. So all I have to do is just pop Crackdown and it just returns back. This code returns back to me. So I'm not too scared. He activated this preemptively, but he had to because I would just activate access code at the beginning of my main phase and then just pop his set. So here we're going to have Terahertz and we're going to make it unaffected by Gachiri just for fun. And then I think we just send Aggregator to negate the effects of Crackdown. So yeah, there's Aggregator. Send in, and then we get back our access code. So we just pop the code talker, and then that's it. We just attack for game. So interesting, you know, it was an interesting choice on my end. I don't think looking back, I could have played that out way better. But yeah, that's it for this replay. Pretty simple. Alrighty, the next replay is going to be the final one. Alrighty, so this is the final one, as mentioned earlier. So we're going first. So we open circular plus defensor. Pretty crazy, and we have DD Crow. So I believe this is Spright. So we're just gonna start. We have 2 circular, then the then the Sigma. They have Ash, which is unfortunate, but you know that tells us you know, they probably have other hand traps at the ready. So here, now that Ash is gone, I'm comfortable using Signet Mining to pitch the Defensor, because Defensor can always be revived by Splash Mage. The other thing is, so even though it's a normal summon, you can use your normal summon for Diameter and still get the benefits of Defensor. You just need to revive Defensor with Splash Mage. So here we have Diameter. So, oh, actually, never mind. I forgot. Diameter, interestingly enough, when it's normal summon, it can target any one level 4 Cybers monster in your graveyard. So it's not Mathmech exclusive. It's specifically level 4 Cybers, so which is Firewall Defensor. So we're still under Nibiru, and we still, so our 5th summon is going to be Alimbertion, and with a Diameter negate. So not too shabby. This is pretty. This is like the goob nut, as someone would describe it as. Alimbertion, I have to negate the Gamma, unfortunately. I need that super factorial really badly, but luckily we have the extenders to push through this Gamma. So we're gonna have to so we played through an Ash, which is probably why he was comfortable ashing the circular. Usually if you have Gamma, personally I think you'd want to negate the transcode talker with Gamma. But here, since we negated it with Alimbertion, Gamma's not once per turn, so he has to negate it on the Splash Mage. So that's not too surprising. So this is great. We played through 2 hand traps, and probably one of the most highest impact hand traps in the game, which is Gamma. So here we're just going to get our our Guardian revive, get a follow up here. So we're going to banish Alimbertion. So this is nice. You're using Wicked just to make them, what we're trying to do is widen the, so he used 2 hand traps and I got a +1 regardless. So that's what we're trying to do. Make the most, squeeze the most we can out of our cards as we go through our combo. So transcode, revive, link decoder plus Splash Mage. So this isn't too surprising. So we have follow up, we have super factorial, and we have terahertz. So we're going to send Deceive Worm, since we should have 3 names in graveyard. There we go. So yeah, this is like, I think this was the best way we could have sequenced it. Perhaps he could have sequenced his cards better. So here I fuck up. This was not supposed to happen. I saw Tri-Brigade kit. It's like, oh, this is Tri-Brigade. What else? Like, there's no way they pair it with another engine. I thought this was pure Tri-Brigade, where they just normal summon kit, distribute it use it as zinc material for Almirage, then add Karos, and then start their combo from there. Nope, it's Spright. So unfortunately, I can't really, I do have the DD Crow, so this is going to be handy. I'm not too familiar with Tri-Brigade Spright, so I wasn't positive what their extra deck was, but since they had Sprint, they probably have like the Nimble engine, but I wasn't sure about if they had Zeus. So I hold all my interruptions to make sure he locks himself under 2s, so I don't have to worry about Zeus. A Zeus wife would be devastating if he, decides to battle one of my monsters. So here he gets Nimble Musasabi. It was just amazing. You know, after the beaver limit, the Spright engine has never been the same. So I think so this was interesting. I didn't also realize that the Tri-Brigade Spright had only one room for gigantic Spright. So this line worked out for me. He had the Ash to negate. So I was, 1 second. I was planning on using Terahertz to send Aggregator to negate gigantic Spright. But since he had Ash to negate Defensor, I'm sorry, Dark Fluid Terahertz, which is a pretty decent trade. The Ash isn't going to be doing much afterwards. Since he ashed that, I had no choice but to use Super Factorial here. Because if he activates Gigantic here, I also can't, I also can't activate my Laplacian. Since this level 2 lock applies to both players. So this works out for me because they only play one Gigantic Spright. I guess they don't have enough room for like Shureg and Bearbrum and all that. So I was scared because like he still has material for two for level 2 rank 2 Xyz. So he tributes Spright Red. I have no choice but to negate that if I want to send. We get to send one monster. So we get rid of the Spright. So there's the Karos, which is good. So here he has Spright Elf, which is where the DD Crow is going to come in handy. So I got lucky, if I'm being honest. I think all of this shouldn't have needed to happen. I could have just ended it by you know, using Laplacian on the Kit, then sending to grave whatever he has in hand. Kit will send Nerval and add Karos, and if he still has stuff, well, maybe if he discarded a Nimble, I would have had more to deal with. But for the most part, negating Karos is like good enough. If they don't discard something good with it. So this was nice. Here during main phase, sorry, before the main phase starts, we're gonna send Aggregator, the one he asked or prevented earlier. It's an Aggregator. Yeah, so during draw phase, because this only revives during main phase. So now it's just gonna be free eats. So this is gonna be at 8,000. He already took damage from the Spright quick play, and so that was it. So I made a couple misplays, but luckily we pulled through in the end. So yeah, that wraps up all the replays for this movie, basically. Thanks for making it this far. I'm honored that y'all want to, you know, listen to me ramble about Mathmech and, you know, just these random matchups. And hopefully you came away with something. You know, if you want to add me on Master Duel, I put the ID, probably put the ID somewhere in the corner or something. But I also have it in the description. I also have the spreadsheet if you want to look at some data. You know, I record, you know, what techs my opponents are on and stuff like that, and separate them between, you know, Diamond Climb and the Master Climb. Yeah, there's a lot of information in the description, you know, just if you're ever curious. So yeah, that's all I have. Thanks and have a good one.